This conference will now be recorded.
So in the last class, we started with the servlets, where we have seen the servlet introduction. The main use of going with servlets is to develop server-side dynamic web applications. And we have seen the servlet hierarchy, servlet architecture, and how to create servlets. So today we'll be going with how to develop a servlet in Eclipse IDE. And since servlets are mainly used for web applications, whenever we want to go with web applications, we require a server required on our system. We require what? A server. So in our case, we are going to make use of Tomcat server. So today let us see how to download and install Apache Tomcat server version 9. Before we go to this, how to download and install Tomcat server, already I'm having Tomcat server installed on my system. Let me uninstall that first. So let me uninstall a program. You can go with control panel and install a program. Which one we want to uninstall? Tomcat server. So choose your Tomcat server, uninstall. Say yes, uninstall. Right? Click on close. Now, how to download this Tomcat server is just open search engine like Google and you can search here for Tomcat 9 download. Let me open search engine like Google and you can search here for Tomcat 9 download. Then the first link, whatever it is showing, Apache Tomcat 9 software downloads. Open this. This is the URL you can use to download Tomcat server. So directly you can open this page, and in this page you can find, if you scroll down, you can find binary distributions. Under that, core. Under this you can see tar.zz. This tar.zz is for Linux or Mac. Linux or Mac operating systems. Then once we download this, just we need to extract it. That's it. No installation. Just we need to extract it. Then related to Windows, you can go with either 32-bit Windows zip or 64-bit Windows zip. When you go with zip file, we have to just extract it. No installation. And the last one is for installation. Let me go with the last one so that I can show the installation part. Let me go with the last one, 32-bit or 64-bit Windows Service Installer. And see, once it gets downloaded, we have to run this application. Apache Tomcat 9. You can go to the folder where it has been downloaded. And just we need to run this application. Just to double click on this file. Say yes. Then click on next button. Agree the license agreement. Then click on next button. Then it is asking you the port numbers. So by this -1, it's not working. So I'm going with port number as 1111. Then by default Tomcat server will be running in this port number 8080. So if you want to change the port number, you can change it here also. If any other service running in these port numbers, we cannot run our Tomcat server. So how to change the port numbers also I'll be elaborating. We can from Eclipse also we can change even the port numbers. That I'll be showing how to change the port numbers also. So just to change this port number and click on next button, and it will ask you where your Java is located. So it will take the path automatically from our system. Just keep as it is. So whichever the version you want to choose, you can choose. Then just I click on next button. Then by default, Tomcat will get installed in C drive program files and creates a folder Apache Software Foundation and Tomcat 9.0. So this is the default location. Just our work is click on install. If you want to change the location, click on browse to change the location of Tomcat server. Okay, just work is click on install button. That's it. Once the installation is completed, remember, don't miss out, uncheck these two options because we don't want to run the Tomcat server from here. We want to run Tomcat server from Eclipse. So uncheck these two options and say finish. So with this, it completes installation of Tomcat server. So by default, Tomcat server will get installed where? C drive, program files, Apache Software Foundation, Tomcat 9.0, and you can see bin folder. This is important. So wherever you may install, if you go with the tar.cz or zip file, once you extract it, the parent folder of bin, wherever you may extract or wherever you may install, the parent folder of bin are the home directories. And this is not only for Tomcat server, any server you take. Any server you take, the parent folder of bin are the home directories of any server. So in our case, this is our home directory of Tomcat server. So what we need to do here in this page, go to binary distributions. Under that core, under this you can find tar.gz. This is for Linux or Mac. You can go with Windows 32-bit or 64-bit Windows Service Installer to download it. So wherever you may install Tomcat, up to the parent folder of bin, we call it as Tomcat installation. Tomcat installation or root or home directory. Related to Tomcat, we can even call it as Catalina home. Any server you take, parent folder of bin are the home directories. Okay, so this is the home directory of Tomcat server. Clear up here, all of you, the installation part? No. Let us develop the application. Creating a servlet in Eclipse using Apache Tomcat server version 9. The first step is we need to configure Tomcat server in Eclipse workspace. We need to configure what? Tomcat server in our Eclipse workspace. Only one-time process. Let me open Eclipse. So here I'm choosing one more new workspace in our folder. I'm choosing one more new workspace, Java EE under Java programs. So just say launch. Then close the welcome screen. Now first step, we have to configure Tomcat server. How to configure Tomcat server is click on window button. Here, not here, in the menu, go to window, preferences, window preferences. Then here in this list, you can see server. If you expand, you can find runtime environments. Select this runtime environments, click on add button. Now which server you want to choose, we have to choose here. So here in our case, you can go with Apache, or you can go with this IBM WebSphere. You can see Oracle, WebLogic, Red Hat, JBoss like this. So whichever the server you want, you just choose a server. Like in our case, I'm going with Apache Tomcat server version 9. Then click on next. Just choose a server, click on next. Here we have to provide the installation directory. Any server, same process. How to know the installation directory is it? Wherever you may install or wherever you may extract the zip files, the parent folder of bins. Any server, same process. The parent folder of bin are the home directories. So in our case, it is C drive, program files, Apache Software Foundation, Tomcat 9.0. Select this folder and say Apache Software Foundation. Select this. Select folder and click on finish button. That's it. Then click on apply and close. So only one time process for your complete workspace. So let me document how to configure Tomcat server. Click on window, preferences, server, runtime environments, select, click add, select Apache, under Apache, Apache Tomcat server version 9, click next, click browse, select Tomcat installation directory. So in our case, this one. Right? Then click select folder, click finish, click apply and close. That's it. This completes our configuring server in our Eclipse workspace. Clear up to here, all of you? Compulsory you need to practice. The next step, since servlets are mainly to go with web applications, so here we have to create a web project. So create a dynamic web project. Create what? Dynamic web project. So how to create a dynamic web project is in the Eclipse, click on File, New, and in the list you can see Dynamic Web Project. Or if it is not visible, you can even go to Other. And Other, if you scroll down, you can see Web. Under Web, you can see Dynamic Web Project. Anyone is same. Then click on Next. Then it will ask you the project name. So in my case, I'm giving project name as Web Project. And this is case sensitive. Case sensitive. We have to refer to the project at so many places, the project name. So here I have given W and P as capital. So it is totally case sensitive when you are referring to the project. And next step, in dynamic web model version, choose 2.5. So why I'm choosing 2.5 is this is important to understand more about servlets. The internal working of servlet we can know by using this 2.5. Then click on finish button. That's it. So the project will get created. So to create dynamic web project, click on File, New. In the list you can find dynamic web project. If it is not available, click on File, New, Other, another, go to Web. In Web we can see dynamic web project. It will ask you the project name. I'm giving project name as web project. In dynamic web model version, select 2.5. Click finish. Once we create project, the next step is we have to create a servlet. Create a servlet in dynamic web project. Right? So what we have done in Eclipse now, we have created a dynamic web project. How to create dynamic web project? I'm showing once again. Click on File, New, and here choose dynamic web project. Go with the project name. And select here in dynamic web model version 2.5 and click on finish button. Okay, right? Then once you create project, the next step is we have to create a servlet. How to create a servlet in our web project is How to create a servlet is right click. We have to right click on web project and say new servlet. In the list you can see servlet. Right click on web project, new servlet. Go with the class name. I'm going with class name here. Welcome servlet. Any class name. Welcome servlet I'm choosing and click on finish button. Just provide class name and click on finish button. That's it. The code will be created here. So how to create a servlet? Right click on web project and say new servlet. We'll ask you the class name. We are giving it as welcome servlet and click finish. Let us write the code. Let us go with the input statements. I'm just using star to reduce the number of lines so that the code is visible in one window. I'll explain for which import statement is used. Here we have to override do get and do post. See here. So how to create a servlet? I said in the last class, just to create a class welcome servlet extends HTTP servlet, and we need to override do get method or do post method or both. So in this code, let me go with only do get method. So in the next class, I'll be elaborating about do post. Now, so just to create a class extends HTTP servlet and override do get method. And do get method takes two arguments: HTTP servlet request, HTTP servlet response throws servlet exception and IO exception. This IO exception belongs to the package java.io package import. Servlet exception belongs to java x.servlet package import. This HTTP servlet class, HTTP servlet request interface, HTTP servlet response interface belongs to this java x.servlet.http package import. So that's about the import statements. Now understand carefully how to handle the request. In doGet, we have to handle the request. How to handle is from whichever the browser. We are going to get the request from browser. For web applications, who is the client? Browser. From whichever the browser we get the request to the servlet, to the same browser we have to send the response. So from browser we get request, then we have to send the response to the same browser. So the first step here is we have to connect to the browser from where we got request. How to connect to the browser from where we got request is we have to select this print writer out equal to response dot get writer. When you call this method response by using this response dot get writer, this will connect to the browser from where we got request. Now this out object is connected to the browser from where we got request. Now using this out, whatever we write on the within double quotes, welcome to servlets. This message, welcome to servlets, this message will be displayed on the client browser. So whenever you want to display some content onto the browser, we have to use which method? Out.println, right? Now, once we create the servlet, our next step is run the servlet. How to run the servlet is, see here. You have to right click here. Right click on this welcome servlet.java and say run as run on server. Run as run on server. If server list is not visible, just expand like this, okay? If it is, it will be showing like this some cases. Some cases it will be like this. Just if you scroll down, if you expand this window, no, you can see the servers list. Then which server we are choosing? Apache. Under Apache Tomcat version 9, and make a check mark here so that this window will not come next time. Make a check mark. Always use this server when running this project. Then click on finish button. That's it. The server will get started. Then once the server starts, it opens the browser. It opens the browser with this client URL, this localhost 8080 web project welcome servlet. This we call client URL. This URL we give to the clients users to run our application. So if that system is connected to our system through network, and if they type that this URL in their browser, it will connect to our server, and this response will be displayed on their browser window. So this message will be displayed on their browser, right? We can even choose internal browser also. Here, click on window, web browser. Here you can find internal web browser. Now if you run as run on server, so it opens internal browser of Eclipse with this client URL, and this is the response. So what is our next step? Run the servlet. How to run? Right click on welcome servlet.java and say run as run on server, which starts the run on server. Choose Apache under Apache tomcat server version 9. Make checkmark to always use this server when running this project. Click finish. Which starts the tomcat server and opens a browser with the following client URL. This we call client URL. What is that URL? http://localhost:8080. As you know, tomcat server will be running in port number 8080. Then the project name, then servlet class. Welcome servlet. That's it. And displays welcome to servlets in the browser. That's it. This completes our first application, how to create a servlet in Eclipse. Got it, everyone? Any questions? So compulsory you need to practice. If you are totally new to this, please practice on this. Now, in our response, this is our response, what is getting displayed in the browser. In this response, I want to do some presentation. Means how to do presentation using HTML. Means I want to include some HTML code in our servlet. In the response, I want to include HTML code. Then how to include HTML code? This is our response. So in order to include HTML code, we have to call a method response dot set content type text/HTML. So we need to invoke this method. So in order to include HTML code in our servlets, the content what you are including is HTML content. That's meaning. How to include is in out.println. I want to use font tag. Font face equal to Arial, size equal to some 5, color blue. Then I'll say hello world. Then close the font tag. So the HTML tag should go in out.println within double quotes. Now if you observe, we are getting error here. So the reason is this is the open double quote of out.println and this is the closing double quote. Now whenever we are using double quote for your attribute values, so it will think that this is open double quote and this is closing double quote. That's the problem. So whenever you want to represent attribute value in double quotes as it is, we go with the escape character slash double quote. So whenever we want to give double quote for attribute value, just go with slash double quote. Right? Now see, now there is no error. Now save this, run this servlet. You can even click on this run button, or you can even say right click and say run as, run on server. It will ask you to restart server. Any changes to your servlet will ask you to restart server. Click OK. Then see, it's going to open browser and see hello world we are getting in Arial style, size and color blue. So whenever we want to include HTML tags, call this method response.setContentType text/HTML, and in order println we can include our HTML tags within double quotes. Clear? Any questions? No. Now when you are working with servlets, you may get some issue. You may get errors here under this import statements, under this HTTP servlet. You will be finding errors. So if you are getting errors when you create servlet, what you do is, the step is, remember, follow the recording for this. So if you are getting errors, what you need to do, right click on web project and go to properties. Right click on web project, go to properties, and in this list you can find targeted runtimes, and here make a check mark here. So here you will find unchecked box. You have to make a check mark under this Apache Tomcat. Then the errors will go off. Okay. Then if you are getting port issues, if you are getting port issues, so by default Tomcat server will be running in 8080. If there is any other service running in 8080, then we cannot run our Tomcat server. In one port number, we can run only one service. Then how to change the port numbers in Eclipse? How to change the port number is, here you can find, see, servers tab. Here you can find servers tab, and here you can find Tomcat server at localhost, and you will be finding stopped because the server is not getting started because of port issues. You will be finding it stopped. So what you do, you double click on this Tomcat server at localhost, double click on this, scroll towards right side, and here you can see the port numbers. Here you can see the port numbers. Just to go to this, click here and change the port numbers. Okay, whichever the port number you want to give, you can give, no issues, anything. Okay, and save it. And finally, we have to save it. Okay. Right. So I did not do anything. So I clicked on don't save. So these are the issues you may find. And still, if you are facing some issues, let me know so that we can rectify it. So along with me, please practice so that if you are having any errors, any issues if you are facing, we can rectify it on your system. Right? Any questions? No. Now let me explain this client URL. In this HTTP means, already we know, hypertext transfer protocol, localhost. So why we are getting localhost? Because we have configured Tomcat server in our local machine. So that is the reason we are writing localhost. If server is present in other machine, then we have to provide the IP address, or host name means computer name of Tomcat server. 8080, this is the port number. This is the port number where Tomcat server is running. Web project. This is what your project name or even application name. Then welcome servlet. This is important to discuss over here. Welcome servlet. This, we think that this is the class name. This is the class name what we have created. But we want to call it as class name. We call with a special name URL pattern. So in order to discuss this URL pattern only, I have chosen 2.5 as the dynamic web model version. Right? Now let us elaborate on this. Understand carefully. Whenever you make a request to this web project, web application, okay, so you can call it as web project or web application. Whenever you make a request to this web application or application name or web project. So whenever you make a request to this web application, the server, this is our server, the server loads a file called as web.xml file. So understand here, when a request is made to a web application, the server loads web.xml file. Web.xml file is the configuration file or deployment descriptor for web applications. So for web applications, what is the configuration file or deployment descriptor required? Web.xml file. In a web application means this one. In a web application, we can have only one web.xml file. In a web application, we can have what? Only one web.xml file. The web app is the root element of web.xml file. So whenever you are learning any XML files, remember the root tags. That's how they are going to check whether you really worked or not, by asking the root tags. So the root tag of web.xml file is web app. Okay. Web.xml file is present in web.inf folder. Web.xml file is present in which folder? Web.inf folder. And web.inf folder is present in web project /src main web app folder. So this web.inf folder is present in which place? Web project src main web app folder. Let me show this. So if you expand web project, you can see src main web app. Under web app, you can see web.inf. If you expand, you can see the file web.xml file already created. Click on source tab. Now see, the root tag is web app. The root tag is web app here. Okay. Now let me explain this. In this web.xml file, the root tag is web app. Under web app, it goes with the subtag servlet and servlet mapping. Servlet and servlet mapping. Under servlet, it goes with a subtag servlet name. By default, Eclipse will give servlet name as our class name. What is the class name we have created now? It will give that name. Sir, welcome servlet. Servlet name. Then servlet class. What is our servlet class? Compulsory servlet, welcome servlet only. Servlet class name only. Then coming to servlet mapping, it goes with servlet name, welcome servlet. Then very important one, URL pattern. By default, Eclipse will give URL pattern as your servlet class name only. By default, Eclipse will give URL pattern as servlet class name. That's the reason we said this welcome servlet as what? Not class name, we call with a special name URL pattern. So URL pattern is something like alias name for your servlet class. Let me elaborate more. If you take servlet name as welcome, servlet class must be your class name only, servlet name welcome, and URL pattern I am saying well now. URL pattern I am saying well. Based on the above web.xml file, the client URL to access welcome servlet is http://localhost:8080/web project/well here, not welcome servlet. It will go to web project or loads this web.xml file, sees the URL pattern as well. For URL pattern well, what is the servlet name? Welcome. For the servlet name welcome, what is the class? Welcome servlet. So to the clients we provide only URL patterns. To the clients we provide only URL patterns, not the servlet class names. And by default, your Eclipse will give URL pattern as class name only. Your Eclipse will give URL pattern as what? Class name. We can even come and change this class name, URL pattern here. So URL pattern is something like alias name for your servlet class. Okay. So in the complete projects, whenever you want to refer to a particular servlet, we refer only with URL patterns, not with servlet class names. Right? Let me prove this. In this servlet name I am saying welcome. Servlet class must be welcome servlet name welcome, and URL pattern I am saying well. Save this. Now come to this welcome servlet. If you run this servlet now, it will ask you to restart server. Any changes to servlet or web.xml, it will ask you to restart server and see the client URL. You are not getting welcome servlet now. You can see now well here. So URL patterns are like alias names for your servlet class. Right? So that's about for today, and please practice this so that tomorrow's class will be easy for you. So in the next class, we'll be going with how to read HTML form data into servlet. How to read the form data. We create HTML form where we accept the user input, and how to read that form data into servlet to process it. That we are going to discuss, and even we discuss servlet config, servlet context. Okay. So some of the basic topics also we'll be discussing in tomorrow's class. So next 2 classes we complete servlets. Right. Thank you all.